your mama. Dance merengue, know you wanna.
Welcome back. Imagine feeling isolated, like your life is being taken over by painful and debilitating symptoms. This is what it's like for people with acute hepatic porphyria, or AHPS, a family of rare genetic diseases characterized by potentially life-threatening attacks. If you've never heard of AHPS, you're not alone. Joining us today is Porphyria specialist Dr. Bruce Wang of the UCSF Porphyria Center and the Porphyria Consortium, and Mary, who's been living with this condition for the past 20 years. Welcome.
Hi. Thank you.
Dr. Wang, can you help us understand a bit more about this disease and the general signs and symptoms patients might experience?
So the acute hepatic porphyrias are a group of 4 inherited diseases that are all quite rare. They primarily affect women during their reproductive years, and it presents with episodic but severe and potentially life-threatening neurologic attacks. The main symptoms are severe generalized abdominal pain and nausea, vomiting, but can also include numbness, weakness, fatigue, and even mental status changes during attacks.
Okay, we mentioned patients can sometimes go up to 15 years before receiving an accurate diagnosis. How is that possible?
So there are 2 primary reasons for this disease being so difficult to diagnose. The first is that because it is a rare disease, most physicians don't think of it, and so it's not tested. The second reason is that the symptoms of an acute attack are not specific to the porphyrias. They can mimic other more common disorders, which is the second main reason why this disease is oftentimes undiagnosed for more than a decade.
All right, so where can people go for more information?
So people can go to the American Porphyria Foundation's website at porphyriafoundation.com. They can also go to the company Alnylam's website. Alnylam's a company that has been actively doing research and working on new therapies for prevention of attacks in patients, and they have a website at alnylamact.com.
Okay, Mary, Dr. Wang has been talking about the twists and turns of this disease and possible misdiagnoses. Does this sound pretty familiar to you?
Absolutely. I went for 18 months before diagnosis, and that was actually very quick. My experience was different than many others. I had been sick 12 attacks over 18 months. Most of the attacks led me to the emergency room, which then led to hospitalizations with the severe abdominal pain, body pain, weakness, paralysis, high blood pressure, high heart rate, just a whole slew of various diverse symptoms. And no doctor ever thought of porphyria. They did every test imaginable, from MRIs, CAT scans, 10 vials of blood at a time, urine tests, and all these tests showed I was a perfectly healthy woman, although I was experiencing debilitating pain. So it took one doctor, having seen a movie about porphyria 3 nights prior, to see a cup of my urine sample cup that was port wine colored to make the connection to porphyria.
Oh my goodness. Can you share a bit about your journey?
As I said, I was a perfectly healthy person until I was 28, and I took a sulfonamide antibiotic for an ear infection, and that woke this disease up in my system. Experienced 12 attacks over the next 18 months prior to but that first 6 years that I had porphyria, my attacks were triggered monthly by my own hormones. And almost every single month I ended up in the hospital for those attacks.
My goodness. So how's your life been impacted by AHPS?
My life is gone. I used to work, I used to be a homeowner, I used to travel the world. My life included the whole world. I would, travel for business and for pleasure. I did caving and hiking. Today, my life is my bedroom. And I have to live with my parents and be supported by them. Friends stop calling because you can only, turn them down so many times because you're not feeling well before they just give up on you. So really, it's completely changed my life.
Well, thank you for sharing your story and joining us. And for more information, be sure to visit dailyflash.tv.
I mean, it's really scary how something so debilitating, right, could affect you for so many years and not be diagnosed.
You really have to go to a doctor who's very aggressive. I mean, it's like it's a detective. You know,
Yeah.
a doctor has to be a detective. It's never like they do a test and it's like, oh, there's the answer. It's like you're constantly eliminating.
Yeah.
That's the process, and so that's why you just
have
really
to
need a good
advocate.
doctor who stays up on all the data.
Yeah, and also advocate for your own health. You have to kind of be on
Right.
top of it.
Because, you know, with like stomach aches, they say, oh, it's in your head. And it's like, no, this is serious, real pain.
Yeah.
And to think that, like, it destroys lives. So glad that there's hope out there.
Yeah, definitely.